Good morning and welcome to Unity Spiritual Center, Saxe, this October 25th, 2020. Let's prepare our heart and minds for service. Let's take a deep breath in together, inhaling and exhale. Inhale again, exhale. Knowing and affirming that life is breath and breath is life. And as unique expressions of the divine, we are here to bring peace, joy, love, harmony, unity, and abundance to the planet through our gifts. We clear our mind of distractions now, emptying ourselves of everything that is outside of this experience together. We slowly take off each of the hats that we wear during the week. We let go of lists of things to do, things that may not have gone quite right first thing this morning, worries we might have for the week ahead. And we center ourselves into our heart space. Ready to learn, ready to remember, ready to reacquaint ourselves with our innate divinity, ready for all that we need to hear and see to help us to expand more fully into our potentiality. So we continue to relax mind, body, spirit, and heart. And become more aware of this divinity that we swim in, that is us, that expresses as us, each and every moment of every day. And now we celebrate that union in our centering song, Spirit's Prayer.
Loving Spirit dwells in me. This is my divinity. As within, so without. All I need is here and now. Where there's air, let me love. May I have no fear. All the power, all the glory, I surrender, let it be. Loving Spirit dwells in me, now and evermore. Loving Spirit dwells in me. This is my divinity. As within, so without. All I need is here and now. Where there's air, let me love. Spirit dwells in me, now and evermore.
In a spirit of love and unity, we now enfold all children of the world together in this blessing. Together, children of light, we see you guided and directed by an inward spirit that leads you into the path that is right for you. We see you strong and whole. We see you blessed and prospered. We see you courageous and confident. We see you as the spiritually perfect beings you truly are. Children of light, we bless you. And our inspiration moment is from Unity's daily word today, and the word is listen. During the course of a busy day, I may hear all kinds of things: conversations, music, sounds of nature, traffic noise, and even my constant self-talk. Sometimes all that I am hearing may numb me to the more intentional act of listening. As I listen, I become more aware of the voice of Spirit. Its comforting, guiding presence feels like a homecoming. As I settle into a tranquil environment and I begin to relax my body and my mind, I create a welcoming space for listening to the assuring voice of Spirit, discernible as my inner knowing. I breathe deeply and I rest in this space. I go about my day, listening intently for the voice of Spirit expressing through all the people in my life. Blessed, rather, are those who hear the word of God and obey it. That's Luke chapter 11, verse 28. Let's recite 3 times our affirmation together. In the quiet of my heart, I listen for the voice of Spirit. In the quiet of my heart, I listen for the voice of Spirit. In the quiet of my heart, I listen for the voice of Spirit.
Good morning.
Good morning.
There is sadness. There is an aching. Don't try to erase it. Embrace it. There is beauty. There is joy. Don't try to retain it. Radiate it. We see the pieces and we forget that there is a wholeness. That's what we are. There is anger. There is anxiety. Don't try to erase it. Embrace it. There is laughter. There is love. Don't try to retain it. Radiate try to erase it, embrace it. There is compassion, there is peace. Don't try to retain it, radiate it. We see the pieces and we forget that there is a wholeness. That's what we are. Thank you.
So last night, I had an event, a storytelling event, and I hadn't done one in about 4 years. And whenever I finish something like that, I always have about an hour or so. It was a little bit longer last night where I just have to debrief. And I let the adrenaline kind of settle down, and my brain starts to settle down and get slower and empty out of all the things I was thinking of, and all the self-evaluation I'm doing, and all the thoughts about what happened, all the feelings about what happened. And I sat and just took stock, actually for about 3 hours or so, and just thought and was just quiet with it. And I find myself doing that more often in life now, I think, as I get older, where I try to take in moments. I think about and run through my heart and mind what just happened. It used to be that I would sit and start berating myself for what didn't go exactly like I thought it should go. That I always have a long list of things I just could have done better. Wish I hadn't said that. Wish I hadn't done that. But now, as I soften in my older age, I'm so much more kind with myself. And I realize that so much of what happens in our day, in our week, is food for thought, is full of lessons for the path ahead. Especially as I continue to grasp a little bit more each time how precious life is, how delicate and fragile life seems to be at times. And so I am far less willing to denigrate myself in something that has happened. And I'm so much more willing to give thanks for what was and what is. And I find myself appreciating more how far I've come. And so as I took stock of what happened in 2016 and how things went last night, there was just quite a lot of appreciation for things I've learned and things that I was able to do, things that I couldn't do 4 years ago that I just took on in the last months leading up to this event. And just let things be. Just let things be. And realize that I'm a work in progress. And that life for us is a work in progress. You know, last week we had Charles Holt with us, and he sang one of my favorite songs, Rolling River God. And I thought of these lyrics last night. I think of them often, actually. And here are some of those lyrics. Rolling river God, little stones are smooth, only once the water passes through. So I am a stone, rough and grainy still, trying to reconcile this river's chill. But when I close my eyes and feel you rushing by, I know that time brings change, and change takes time. And when the sunset comes, my prayer would be this one, that you might pick me up and notice that I am just a little smoother in your hand. Man, I always have emotion come up when I think of that line, that you might pick me up and notice that I am just a little smoother in your hand. Talking about God and about us being molded by this living water that Spirit is, and allowing ourselves to immerse in that living water. And I think especially this journey of daily meditation that we're doing, that's the immersion in the living water, and allowing Spirit to just rush around and smooth those jagged edges that we have. And I was very much aware last night as I sat contemplating that so many of my jagged edges are smoothing out. And I can appreciate those smooth edges now. And I can almost feel Spirit running hands, if you want to call it that, because we don't think of God here as an entity that has hands and feet, but that there is a rushing of this divine energy around my jagged edges and smoothing me out. And I think when we can sit and just appreciate that smoothness and feel it and know where it came from, then we place ourselves in the midst of a sacred moment. And then everything that we do, everything we put our hands in, becomes sacred as well. And so as my mind started to slow down last night, and there was a lot to slow down from because a lot went on in the event, and there were things, I would say probably half of what we planned didn't go as planned, but we made it work. And we brought our resources and our minds, and there was texting going on behind the show, and phone calls going on, and it was just kind of almost crazy for a moment, but there was a beauty in it. And I'm so happy that I'm in a place in my life that what used to be a hot mess to me is now a thing of beauty. And I realized that things are always working out for me. Here we go back to our statement, right? And I realized that as I can let that statement resonate within my cells and my bones again, that I just have this overwhelming thanksgiving for what is and for this journey that we have. How perfect was Kate and Tom's song, talking about these things in our lives that we don't have to, why erase them when you can embrace them? You know, all those things that I thought went wrong last night, we just embraced and went with them. And I remember that the tech guy texted me at some point, and he said, "Oh, it looks like we're doing stuff in a different order." And I said, "Yeah, we're just going with the flow here. And let's just go with it. Everything's okay." Because he was kind of losing it in the background. You couldn't see him or hear him, but I could tell from his text. He's like, "Oh my gosh, what's happening? I'm sorry." And he's apologizing. And I said, "It's all okay, Adam. It's all okay. We're just going with the flow here. We're just going with the flow." And so this rolling river that this song speaks of, if we will just let ourselves float in it and go with that flow and immerse ourselves in it. You know, the song talks about when the water is wild, and maybe there are some jagged edges that really need to be smoothed, and maybe they're going to get smoothed down kind of quickly. You know, we get in those crisis moments in our lives. And some days we can really feel the smoothing happening, right? But it's all a part of a plan for our lives, a plan that we have and that some philosophers say that we decide on before we even come to this physical existence, that we make a plan. And I'm learning that the plan goes so much better, and it's so much more graceful and peaceful, and I have so much more gratitude in it if I'm just in the flow. And yes, picking up that mantra, everything is working out for me right now, even when it doesn't look like it's working out. It is working out because a part of me knows that everything is indeed working out for me right now. And appreciate the beauty of it. And that there's another jagged edge, perhaps that we didn't know about, that's getting smoothed in this moment. And then your heart and your mind can roll itself over those smooth edges, those smooth parts of us, and revel in it. I almost didn't want to go to sleep last night because I loved being in that moment of just appreciating what's happened in my life. And yes, just like their song said, that there was this joy that came up and this gratitude, and I just was sitting in it, radiating in it. How fantastic is this? That at one moment, we could perceive that perhaps it's all gone in the ditch. But it's all a part of the beauty of life. When we can make that shift in our heads, and especially in our hearts here, then we get to appreciate that flow that is spirit, that energy that is spirit, that's working in our lives, that is taking care of all the things that we've ever dreamed of or conceived. And we're just plodding along through our days trying to make things work. One of my other very favorite things is James Allen's As a Man Thinketh. Could this book be any smaller? I might need a magnifying glass. My favorite part of this work, As a Man Thinketh, is this. Your circumstances may be uncongenial, but they shall not long remain so if you but perceive an ideal with a capital I and strive to reach it. You cannot travel within and stand still without. Here is a youth hard pressed by poverty and labor, confined long hours in an unhealthy workshop, unschooled and lacking all the arts of refinement, but he dreams of better things. He thinks of intelligence, of refinement, of grace and beauty. He conceives of, mentally builds up, an ideal condition of life. The vision of a wider liberty and a larger scope takes possession of him. Unrest urges him to action. And he utilizes all his spare time and means, small though they are, to the development of his latent powers and resources. Very soon, so altered has his mind become that the workshop can no longer hold him. It has become so out of harmony with his mentality that it falls out of his life as a garment is cast aside, and with the growth of opportunities which fit the scope of his expanding powers, he passes out of it forever. Years later, we see this youth as a full-grown man. We find him a master of certain forces of the mind, which he wields with worldwide influence and almost unequaled power. In his hands, he holds the cords of gigantic responsibilities. He speaks, and lo, lives are changed. Men and women hang upon his words and remold their characters, and sun-like he becomes the fixed and luminous center around which innumerable destinies revolve. He has realized the vision, with a capital V, of his youth. He has become one with his ideal. Become one with his ideal. And as we have our jagged edges smoothed, that's our ideal coming to fruition, becoming manifest in this world, in this physical existence of ours. You know, the vision in our heads, the things that we think about, just come forth into the world. How fantastic is that? How fantastic is that? And as I sat contemplating that last night, it is indeed a holy moment. Life is not just this hamster wheel that we're plodding through every day, turning each step. There's something else at work. And if we'll let ourselves sit and appreciate what's happening and see that it is beautiful, we can radiate in it. And just like James Allen said, people start to notice and feel the change in you, because all they experience are those smooth parts of you. The smoothness that came out after all of this work, all those hours in meditation, that reminded you of what you are, that vision, that divine vision of who you are. Embrace these moments, no matter what they look like, especially the ones that we would judge as not quite good enough. There is no good or bad in spirit. There is no good or bad. There is no judgment. Things just are. We get to decide what they mean. So we can pull in all of that, all of what's happened over the days, months, years, decades, quarter centuries, and decide what's happened in our lives and stand in appreciation for what has led us to a particular moment. And radiate that goodness. Rolling river God. Little stones are smooth, even as the water passes through. And what a vision is that? A way of thinking about life and God, and us being held and protected, and those jagged edges getting smooth. And if we look at it from divine eyes, there were never any jagged edges. We were always smooth, perfect and whole and complete. But life often feels jagged, doesn't it? Life often feels jagged. And we get cut by it. And we get slashed. And there's blood, sweat, and tears, right? But I say it is all good. All good. Because it's wrapped up in this existence that we get to have. If we'll only appreciate it. Sometimes raging wild, sometimes swollen high. Never have I known this river dry. The deepest part of you is where I want to stay and feel the sharpest edges wash away. And when I close my eyes and feel you rushing by, I know that time brings change, and change takes time. The deepest part of you is where I want to stay. The times when I've sung that song at home in my private time, in my solitude, that's usually the place where I start to cry. The deepest part of you is where I want to stay. And that's why I run back to meditation in the morning and immerse myself. That's where I'm aware, so much more aware of the immersion. Because we're always immersed. We're like the fish in the water. You don't have to go looking for the water. You're in it. It is part of your existence. There is no life without it. We're always in the water, but sometimes we feel like we're up on shore gasping for air. You know, if you've ever seen a fish up on the air and the gills are just flapping, trying to get that air in. And just like Charles talked about in his talk, he had this resuscitative breath that just came out of him. And when he took that breath again, the answers started to flow. He started to hear Spirit speaking to him. This is why we're here. Everything is perfect. Even as he thought his world was falling apart. Everything that he counted on, his livelihood stopped on a dime because of the pandemic. And then the breath came up. He was able to breathe and feel the appreciation for where he was. All that fear just melted away from him. And in those moments, remember he talked about standing at the kitchen sink, washing vegetables. He went from fear to this resuscitative breath and being able to radiate around what he heard, Spirit speaking into his mind and heart. He too was feeling the jagged edge, smooth, right there in his kitchen. And we get to do that too, if we will only let ourselves. If we will only let ourselves. Yes, you can stay with the jagged edge. You can keep that if you want that. You are love all the same. But you get to experience life. All of us get to experience life in a state that we want to radiate. And we feel the gratitude just pouring out of us if we'll see it as divine perfection. If we see it as the perfection that it is. And again, envision ourselves in that living water. Floating on it. No cares, no worries, because everything is always working out for us. Everything is indeed always working out for us. It's the only way it can be, because we are divine. We are one with the Father. We are one with the Father. Let's take this in a meditation. Let's just breathe. Just relax. Repeating our mantra, everything is always working out for me. And picturing the living water of life. That is God, that is Spirit, that is us. We are the stream. We are the stream and the rock at the same time. And as we express more of our divinity, we smooth out those jagged edges that we perceive. Remembering that we were always smooth, whole, perfect, and complete. And as you envision that living water that is God, that is you, and everyone on this planet, perhaps see yourself immersed in that water, nourished, animated, strengthened, empowered. Everything that you need within you. Everything that you need. In fact, we have no needs. For you are all goodness. You are all love, divine love. You are the breath of life. You are power and strength, passion and zeal. You are the water, and the water is you. Giving life to all that you come in contact with. Living water that never runs dry. You are the source. You are the journey. The beautiful journey. Let's just breathe in and out, appreciating all that has gone before this moment, leading us here. Embracing all of it. And then radiating our goodness. Knowing that that radiance is limitless. It is infinite. Let's just breathe together in the silence. And so it is, and so it shall be. Amen. So let's lift names in prayer. Mhm. Yes. Yes. And for his doctors and nurses and all those who care for him. For Jerry and all those who love him. For Lola, for health and wholeness, clarity and peace. For Chelsea, for health and wholeness. For Dorothy, for peace, strength, understanding, and abundance. For Dot and all those who love her and Nancy. For Alexine, Stephanie, Carl, and family. For the Wortham family and the Silverberg family. Yes, yes.
For Vicky's back, you know, she's hopefully should. And for Tiffany.
Mhm. For Melissa and family. So for all of these beloved souls, and all those who are unnamed in this moment, but who live in our hearts and minds, we know that they are whole, perfect, and complete. And they too are immersed in this living water, which animates them, nourishes them, and is only working for their highest and best in every moment of every single day. And we offer this in the name and in the nature of Jesus the Christ, our brother and way shower. Amen. And now, when knowing and affirming that source is where everything in our lives comes from, everything. Everything comes from source. Our prosperity, love, joy, peace, everything that feeds us. And so now we recite our celebration of giving together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all the good that I am and have, all the good that I give and receive, and so it is.
Living in the house of the soul's belonging, where you know without a doubt that you've made it home. Living in the house of the soul's belonging, coming back to the holy ground that you've always known. In the kingdom of love, there is no competition, no contradiction, no control. You can take possession and claim your passion. Step into the feeling of sweet surrender. Let yourself remember who you are. You can take your own sweet time and ease your troubled mind in the secret sanctuary of the heart. Living in the house of the soul's belonging, where you know without a doubt that you've made it home. Living in the house of the soul's belonging, coming back to the holy ground that you've always known. There is room for all the kindness you can hold, and you know you can take it with you everywhere you go. Living in the house of the soul's belonging, where you know without a doubt that you've made it home. Oh, living in the house of the soul's belonging, coming back to the holy ground that you've always known. Coming back to the holy ground that you've always known. Coming back to the holy ground that you've always known. Thank you.
Man, I should have joined in with the congas on that one.
I know, yeah.
That would have been a good one.
Are you sleeping on the job? What's going on? So just a couple of reminders. Our book study starts November 3rd, so that's a week after this one. Gosh, November's here. Coming soon, coming soon. And I'll put on Facebook on our website, I'll put on the event itself what chapters we're reading. So we're going to have some chapters to read prior to the first class, because we're only doing 4 classes, but we're going to read the entire book. The November 8th is our picnic. Hopefully it won't be so chilly.
Can I add to that a little bit, because fish fry, I'm bringing lots of fish.
Oh,
So that part of that picnic, some of it will be.
Live or dead?
They're already filleted. They're already filleted.
You don't know about baby. Live. Catch your own.
So it can be geared toward, like, cause I should have enough fillets for everybody. I mean, seriously, I should have enough fish for everybody. So if you wanted to bring like the stuff that goes with fish, might be a theme for the picnic.
Chips, some French.
we'll work on that. Don't forget, even though board elections are in December, if you want to put in an application to run in the election, that's due November 8th. So it was out in our last, the application was in our last newsletter, and I'll put it out again in the probably beginning of next week. And then November 29, Lisa Allman Baldwin is with us. Or is it Baldwin Allman? I always get that messed up. I better figure that out. But Lisa will be here to speak on November 29. And the last thing is, we don't have a slide for that. I'm working on the theme for next year. And one of the things I'm learning how to do is ask for help. And so if there is somebody who would like to help me plan the theme and things we're going to do throughout the year and help with execution as we go month to month to month to month, because I get lost in all the stuff that needs to do. And so it'd be really nice to have somebody to help me plan. So if you would, just let me know, contact me, and we'll meet and we'll brainstorm together and have some fun with it. So I've already got in mind what I want to do. It goes with our, the board and our new mission statement, so living your best life. And
Is this beyond Jan, who's our election in Jan, our event planner, or something like it from the last board meeting? I know that Jan did her.
so yes, it's beyond that. Yes, it's actually a part of that. So it'll end up on some of the scheduling she's helping us with. So, okay, wonderful, wonderful. Anything, Fred? Do you have anything? Okay. Do I have to ask that question, Fred? Do you have anything?
I'll tell a little joke.
Did we ask anybody ask that question?
There were two guys, Bart and Ernie, and they argued their whole life about, is Jesus black or is Jesus white? And so they made a pact. They said, look, whichever one of us dies first, ask the question, come back and tell me. Well, as luck would have it, they both died on the very same day. And they were standing at the pearly gates in front of St. Peter, and they said, St. Peter, we are best friends. We have argued all our life. Is Jesus black or is Jesus white? St. Peter said, well, just a minute. He's right there. Jesus walked up and says, Buenas noches. So you have to be careful. You have to be careful. You just,
That's when you think it's.
yes, you just never know.
Right.
Had a couple things. We want to thank Tess and we want to thank Dia for getting out and I don't know what they were doing yesterday, but they ants were abounding and we had we were yeah, it was weird. Dia got out. Don't give Dia a blower. She thinks ant bait is take the blower and blow them. And they were all over the parking lot there, and she said, I think I made a mistake.
It's all good.
Point the blower that way. But we thank them for doing that. And I want to thank Pete and his crew for coming in and cleaning up all the back so that the landscape team can now institute their new plan. We're just about cleared out from the buildings and the awning. It'll be gone in a week or so. And they really did a great job until they got to the last part of what I wanted them to do, which was erect this do-it-yourself building that's made out of rubber. And I thought it would be simple. If I thought that, I would have done it, but no, it was not. The instructions read like the Chinese were out to get us. And then they had little squares where you had to have a phone to take a picture of it, and then it clicked you into a YouTube channel with this guy telling you what your next step was. Well, they're real sharp, and they could do that, and there were only two of them, but it took 18 people to do this thing. But Pete and I are supervising, so we're sitting back. Pete's reading the instructions, and I'm supervising. And marveling at how smart I was to get young guys that are strong to do this. And this is not something that Jerry or Mike or Pete and I wanted to get involved in. So it was really good, and we do appreciate everything you've done. Now, I've told you all that so that I can tell you that when you finally come back to the church and you start looking around, what you're going to see pretty quick is that it doesn't look the same. And that was the goal. The goal is when you're going to start making changes, you just push on through and make changes. So that, and they're all good changes, don't get me wrong, they're all good changes. But what you want to do is you want to make sure that when somebody walks in that was here 15 years ago, they don't come back and see the same plant, the same this, the same that. you want to have them to notice that there was a lot that went on while they were gone. So we're real glad that we're at the stage that we are. I'll be happy when the landscape team presents the board with an idea of what they want, because ideas usually have dollars attached, and so that will be our part, is trying to figure out what we can afford for them to do. So, and so I'll try to get them to give us that fairly soon. The only other thing I wanted to say is we do have a budget shortfall that we're going to try to meet. So I want to encourage everybody to get a slip online, get a slip off Facebook, get a slip in the back, fill it out. It's not right now, but it starts in January. We want to try and encourage everybody to give at least $35 more a month than what they now give. Right now, the last time I checked, we were about a third of the way where we're trying to go, and it's not even November yet, so that's good. So if we can get a full commitment, then we will be sure that next year's budget is going to be met every month. So that's an exciting time for us as a church. Thank you.
Now let's have our prayer for protection. Together, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And let's stand as we affirm our mission, vision and mission together. We are Unity Spiritual Center, Saxe. We are a thriving global community of spiritual seekers, transforming lives through love and the expression of our innately divine gifts. Our mission is to inspire spiritual and personal growth through the teaching and demonstration of unity principles toward the realization of living our best lives. Divine wisdom is at work in every area of our lives right now. Divine wisdom is at work in every situation right now. Divine wisdom is opening ways where to our human sense there is no way. Everything is always working out for me. And I want to thank Kate and Tom for being here this morning. Thank you so much. We have one more song.
Why should I feel discouraged? Why should the shadows come? Why should my heart be lonely and long for heaven and home? When Jesus is my portion, my constant friend is He. His eyes are Thank y'all so much.
Our piano is just smiling this morning, getting played like that. Thank you for joining us this Sunday morning. Have a beautiful week. Namaste.